A lot of times I get asked how I got into this business. Came from corporate America, and worked at a distribution center. We delivered potato chips and snack foods all over North Texas area. I had 10 routes and 10 guys on those routes, and just kind of managed it for them. Had worked my way up from the bottom, delivery driver, and when I left there almost 9 years later, was running the place. But the word on the street was that the company was headed for bankruptcy. Nationwide, they were in trouble, and so we knew that there was troubled waters ahead. So I began looking for something to replace it with. And since I'm a Christian also, I prayed, asked God to give me wisdom and actually give me a new job. And so that's kind of where we were. And I knew I needed to leave there. I just didn't know how to get out. So that first summer, this was back in 2001, a friend of mine was a fireman, and he had a swimming pool route, and he was cleaning pools. Needed some help, so he asked me to help him out for the summer. So I said sure, and worked all summer with him, and absolutely loved it. The work it wasn't too tough. It was very rewarding because we'd drive up to a pool that looked like a green swamp, and within a few hours we had it vacuumed out and all cleaned up, and it just the smile on the homeowner's face is priceless, and it was good. Really enjoyed it, the work, and finished that year out with him, and the next year worked with him again, and just reaffirmed that I really enjoyed that type of route work, and was able to fix a lot of broken stuff. Another thing that I really enjoy doing. So that kind of piqued my interest into moving into that industry. But working for him wouldn't generate enough income to survive on. So I thought, well, I'll go out on my own. And so I started started my own company in a different town. Now, the only thing I'm not proud of is I didn't come to him directly and tell him what I was doing. I just kind of did it behind his back. I don't recommend that. Was not a good move. But he still talks to me today. So we did get through it, but it created some troubled waters that could have been avoided if I'd just been direct with him and told him what I wanted to do. So one thing I did notice, that the work did not come as easy on my own as it did working for him. His phone rang off the hook, mine didn't ring at all. And so it was tough. And the first year I probably had gathered about 8 customers, which, it's nice spending money, but it was not enough to live on. And so in my mind, I needed to go full time, but there was not enough income there. And my wife, every time we would talk about it, she would just, let's just say we would get emotional. It would be difficult. We'd have some difficult talks. And but she was not on board. She just said, it's a bad idea. Go get a real job. You don't need to start your own business. But I really felt deep down that there was something there. It just drew me, and I really liked the work. And I remember probably 2003, somewhere in that time frame, I was driving to Sherman, which was about 2 hours from my house. I was going to meet a guy and help him with his route. And on the way up, I was listening to the Bible on a cassette. Now, some of you guys don't know what that is, but before the CDs, before DVDs, before, what is that thing now? The Sirius satellite. And it seems like there's one more you can put on your phone. and listen to radio or whatever. But anyway, before any of that, we had cassettes. And so I was listening to a recorded version of that, and it was in the book of Genesis. It was talking about Abraham, and God's promise to Abraham was, if you'll trust me, if you'll go where I'm asking you to go, I'm going to bless you. And God not only said he would bless Abraham, but he told him he would bless whoever went with him and whoever helped him. And as I listened to that morning, I thought, man, I just feel like God is encouraging me to take that step forward and go out there. And I remember talking to God that morning, and I talked to God like I'm talking to you. We just talk. We have a conversation. And I said, Lord, I really believe that's what you want me to do, is take a leap of faith and start this business. But, you know, my wife is not in the boat. She's not in. She won't go, and so, you know, I would love to do it, but, you know, your plan is that we be one, we be together, and she's not in the boat. So I would go, but she's not willing to follow just yet. And that was all I said, and just kept driving. And when I got into Denison, Sherman, met the driver, got on his truck with him, and we started out to go work on his route. And I got a phone call. It was from my wife. And I could tell she'd been crying. And she said, well, if you really believe that this is what God wants us to do, she said, I'll get in the boat with you. Now, those were not, we had never used that illustration when we talked. So when she said those words, if you'll get in the boat with me, it was kind of just confirmation that God heard me, and he really did want us to take this step. And so from that day forward, Lisa and I began spending the next 5 or 6 months preparing about how we would take that leap, and I would be able to leave the company I'd been with for the last 9 years, and she would help me. And it's pretty amazing. Next few months, things just began to click. She got offered a job at the school. She was a certified teacher, but she'd been staying home with the kids. And she met the superintendent, and he said, yeah, we got a spot for you. You can start next summer or next fall. And so everything was just lining up, and that was a perfect time for me to quit and, you know, go really start to push the business early spring. So everything was just clicking. And then early 2004, I believe it was, and I get a little fuzzy on the dates, and if my wife was here, she would correct me, tell you exactly what day it was. But early that next year, after we had agreed to pursue the transition, I just felt an urgency to quit. Like, now is the time. It's time to go. And I'm trying to drive here, so that's what all the ums are about. I don't want to have a wreck. I hate you guys see that on the video. But anyway, so we February that next year, I was out on the route, and just this urgency that today's the day. Need to make it happen today. So I went back to the office, and I had committed in my heart that today was the day I was going to give my notice. And coincidentally, the regional manager just happened to be in town, was just passing through, and he was laying out all the plans for the next 2 or 3 months that we would be expected to do, and he finally took a breath and said, "Well, is there anything else?" And I said, "Yeah, I need to visit with you a minute." And so I told him that it was time for me to leave the company, and I had already hired and trained my replacement, so I wasn't leaving them in a jam. But he didn't believe me. He said, "No, you're not leaving. Where are you going to go?" And I just told him, I said, "I really feel like, God is wanting me out of here, and I'm giving you my notice." And so we put it in. And I didn't tell my wife because, we hadn't really discussed quitting yet. The plan was the next summer. But for whatever reason, I did that day, and we talked about it over the next weekend. And God really showed up the next week after that. The same guy that had trained me in the pool business was a fireman. He got hurt on the job, and he needed somebody to run his company for the next 6 or 8 weeks while he recovered. So on Tuesday morning of that next week, I just quit 2 days prior. He calls me and asks me if I would be willing to come and run his company. And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll come help you." He goes, "No, you don't understand. You're going to have to quit your job and come and help me." And I said, "Well, Cliff, I quit last week, so I can come and help you." So, what was really cool is God, I just really feel like God was pushing me to make the decision to leave, to trust Him, because He knew that Cliff was going to need some help. And that was my first, it was kind of a confirmation to me that I had made the right step, made the right decision, and God was behind me. And I'm going to tell you, friend, if you get in the boat with God, He's got your back, and He'll make sure you get where you need to go. And it has been the best thing we have ever done. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, but by far the best decision we made was to trust God and follow His leading, even though we could not see the way. And something really crazy happened about 4 weeks in, and I'll tell you about that on the next one. But until then, God bless you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and I'll try to do more of these videos and share my journey with you. And maybe there's some of you guys out there that are thinking about starting your own business, and maybe some of this will help. So share with your friends. Have a great day and a great weekend.